Good afternoon, Year 5. I hope you're all well and had a lovely Christmas break. It was great to see all of Limerick this morning, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again very shortly. So welcome to your first geography lesson of the year. I'm going to share my screen and hopefully you can see our WALT for our first lesson. So our WALT is, what are the 7 wonders of the ancient world? As you can see, I've written part 1 in brackets. That is because this lesson is going to be split over 2 weeks. So we're going to do part 1 today and part 1 next week. That is because it's a very long lesson and this is how we would have done it in school anyway. So we're going to do the same at home. So the first thing you're going to do is, as you would in class, you are going to complete your do now. The to do now is based on what you did last year and a little bit of history like we did in our last unit before Christmas. It's going to change the slide and I'm going to give you 4 minutes to complete this geography knowledge quiz. So there's a couple of symbols from OS maps you need to identify that you should have learned last year in year 4. Then there's a question about our Vikings unit before Christmas, and then finally another question on geography from year 4 as well. So 4 minutes, and as you're doing it, I'm also going to do it with you. So off we go. So like I said, the first set of questions is based on OS symbols or OS maps, which stands for Ordnance Survey. The second part is based on the Vikings, and the last part is based on geography again. Now you'll see if you can beat Mr. Murphy and get it done before me and get everything correct, because in a moment we'll be ticking or fixing. We've about 2.5 minutes left to go. So I've just completed my first part based on the map symbols. I had to think really hard because it's been a while since I've taught this as well. And now on my second part, which is why did the Vikings attack Britain? Let's see what we can remember before Christmas. So did they attack them because it wasn't far to sail, to avenge the death of Ragnar Lodbrok, Britain was prettier than Scandinavia, or to find more wood to build ships, such as their longships and nars? So down to our last minute now, so we should be getting near our last question. If you have finished, don't forget to check your work. Okay, so we're down to about 30 seconds. Also, you'll be finished by now, so just make sure you're happy with it and that you have a pen or a pencil ready to tick or fix. Doesn't need to be a blue pencil, of course, because you might not have that at home, but if you do, fantastic, like we do in Limerick class, we have a blue pen always ready to go. So I have my blue pen ready, and we're going to go through it in 10 seconds. Okay, so let's have a look. First one, or first map symbol, was a museum. The big M there is a clue for you, so museum. If you got it correct, give yourself a tick. The next one was public toilets. Give yourself a tick. If you got it correct, of course, you do not have the actual do now in this format. You'll just be writing your questions down on a piece of paper. And finally, the last one, the I, stands for information, so that would have been an information centre. So well done if you got 3 out of 3 for the first part. Then from our last unit, why did the Vikings attack Britain? The answer was to avenge the death of Ragnar Lodbrok. So give yourself a tick for that one if you got it correct. If not, just fix it and make sure you've learned it for next time. And finally, a spear, a needle, an arrow or a sign is the magnetic point of a compass which always points north, and the answer is of course needle. So tick it or fix it if you got it incorrect, and then you'll be all ready to go for next week. I'll give you 10 seconds to finish ticking or fixing. Like I said, you don't have the actual sheet like I do here, but you have a piece of paper in front of you and the answers should be written down. Okay, fantastic. So we'll make a start. Okay, so you're probably wondering where the idea of the 7 wonders of the ancient world came from or originated from, which means to come from something. So in year 4, you learned about the Greeks, and I know from teaching Limerick class that they love the Greeks and have so much knowledge about them, so you'll be very familiar with the Greeks. And they, of course, loved lists. So there was a time when the Greeks attempted to make a list of the most magnificent or beautiful or imposing structures in the world that they knew of. They called these structures wonders, which derives from the word wonderful. So wonders were sights or things that deserved to be seen. They were wonders and they really encouraged people to see them. The selection or the choice of 7 wonders that the ancient Greeks chose acted somewhat like a tourist guide or a site not to miss. So if you go on holidays, you'll quite often be given a tourist guide or a pamphlet or a leaflet with different things to visit. And that's what the Greeks were aiming to do. They were trying to create a list or something like a guide for people to see of beautiful structures that they knew of. So what actually were the 7 wonders of the ancient world? So we had the Great Pyramid at Giza, which we'll go into next week, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, the statue of Zeus at Olympia, the Temple of Artemis, the Mausoleum at Halicarnassus, the Colossus at Rhodes, and the Lighthouse at Alexandria. Now, there are 7 of these ancient wonders of the world, and we are going to look at these in part 2 of this lesson, which will happen next week. So a question that you definitely have in your head are, do the 7 wonders of the ancient world still exist? Well, sadly, of these 7 wonders, only the Great Pyramid at Giza in Egypt still stands today. However, if you look at the list of ancient wonders, they give an insight or give you information on the wonderful architecture or building styles, which architecture means, and construction abilities that existed in the ancient world. So when we look at this next week, you'll really understand how talented these people were in these countries at architecture and construction. They were able to build some incredible buildings for that time that I'm sure you'll all be really, really impressed with next week. Okay, so even though much of these, 6 out of 7 of these ancient wonders have now fallen into ruin or are not there anymore, they have continued to also inspire artists who have used their imaginations to put a visual to the written descriptions. So they not only inspire architects and different people around the world now, they also inspire artists who use their imaginations to create images of them. So where in the ancient world were these 7 wonders? So the statue of Zeus, as you can see here with my cursor, was in Olympia, which was in Greece. I want you to listen really carefully here because our task in a moment is going to be based on this map. We're going to have a small mapping activity. So Olympia was where the statue of Zeus was. As you can see here, Rome is up here, not too far away from Greece. So we're in around northern Africa and Eastern Europe at this point. So we had Olympia here. We had the Temple of Artemis in Ephesus here, which is in Asia Minor of the ancient world, or Turkey nowadays. Halicarnassus was where the mausoleum at Halicarnassus stood, which was also in Asia Minor, or as we call it now, Turkey. The Colossus at Rhodes was on this island called Rhodes, just south of Turkey and a little south east of Greece. Over here we have the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, which were in Babylon or modern day Syria. Syria is around here, and Mesopotamia was a name given for the ancient world which consisted of Iraq, Syria, amongst other countries. But this border here is just Syria, so Babylon would be in modern day Syria nowadays. And down here we have Alexandria, where the pharaohs of Alexandria was, and just below here where we've run out of a small bit of room, unfortunately, with the Great Pyramids at Giza. You can see Giza written there. So they were all centered around the same part of Europe and Northern Africa, all part of the same area of the world. And I'm going to give you a question on that later on. So be thinking about why they're all located here. Now in a moment I'm going to show you the task you're going to complete today, which is the mapping activity. But like I just said, I'll do a quick recap. So we had a couple around Greece and Rhodes, 2 also in Asia Minor or Turkey today, 1 in Mesopotamia, which is also Syria, just by this border, where the Hanging Gardens of Babylon one was, and also 2 in Egypt, the Pharaoh, the Lighthouse of Alexandria, and the Great Pyramids of Giza. Okay, so your task that you are going to do on your own is you are going to label the map with the 7 wonders of the ancient world. So I've gone through them here on the previous slide, and if you are stuck, of course you may go back and help yourself, but of course it's not a good idea to copy because that means you won't learn. So if you need to spend some time looking at this before going near your activity, then absolutely do. And as all teachers would be saying for the next couple of weeks while we're closed, if there's any issue, just rewatch the video, pause it. It's not live, so you can keep going back to look at the parts that you're struggling with a small bit. Okay, so I'm going to show you the task now. Okay. So this is our task sheet. This is our independent task. We have a map of Northern Africa here and of Middle East in Europe. I have labeled and numbered these from 1 to 7. Like I said, there were 7 wonders of the ancient world, sorry. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So what you're going to do is you are going to try and label the numbers to the corresponding wonder of the ancient world. So I'm going to do one for you. I'm not going to start with number 1. I'm going to start with number 5, just to be different. So I'll get out my black pen or my pencil if you have a pencil at home, and I'm going to look at number 6. Now, like I said, if you have to, then of course you can go back and look at this, but do not just copy. So I've been talking about this map for the last 7 minutes, probably. So now you're just going to have a look at it as well. So I'm ready to go. Number 5, based on what I said, I think number 5 is the lighthouse at Alexandria. Okay, so that's 1 done. I can check my answer in a moment. And yes, I think I am correct. I will do 1 more for you. I will go to number 7. So number 7 is up here. And number 7, I remember this was the island that was just south of Turkey and to the southeast of Greece. So I think that was Rhodes, the island that was in Rhodes. And the ancient wonder was the Colossus at Rhodes. So I'll just check that one. And yes, I was correct. The clauses of Rhodes or the clauses at Rhodes, both terms are used. So your task now is to go and try and complete this worksheet. So I've done 2 for you, and your task now is to do the remaining 5. If you need to pause or stop the video or rewind the video to go back to the map, then of course you are welcome to, and to check your answers at the end. I will also upload the answers, which will be available on the home learning sheet, so you can check your work and tick or fix at the end of the lesson. So your job now is to pause this video, open up the link to this task, which is in the home learning sheet, and if you have a printer, you're welcome to print it off. But if not, all you have to do is write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, as I've done. Look at the sheet on your screen and then match them up like I've done with the first 2. Okay, so your job now is to pause. 5 minutes or so to take you, maybe a little bit longer. Check your work at the end and off you go. Hopefully you managed to complete the independent task and have checked your answers, ticking or fixing with a blue pen if you have one. If not, then just pause this video again and continue on with your work. Now, like I said a little while ago, I have a question for you. So you're looking at where these ancient wonders were located in the world, and I've mentioned North Africa a lot and the Middle East, as well as Eastern Europe. So this is the question I want you to answer, and if you've done this lesson before or call this afternoon, it is a question that myself and your teachers are going to ask you, and we might call upon some people to discuss. So what do you notice about the location of the 7 wonders? And therefore, why do you think they're all located around the same part of the world and not spread all over the world? So what I mean by that question is, think about where they're located. I've mentioned the areas of Eastern Europe, the Middle East, and Northern Africa. And why do you think they're all located in this small area of the world? Why are they not spread around the world? And why are they all in one location? So have a think about that. You may write down an answer in preparation for this afternoon with your teacher, or you can think about it in your head, maybe discussing it with someone at home if there is someone available. Like I said, this is just part 1 of our lesson on the ancient wonders of the world, and next week we will look at each of them in detail. So this is just a small overview, a little bit of a mapping activity, and really excited for next week where we'll delve into each wonder of the world specifically and talk about them then. So thank you very much for your time. I look forward to seeing Limerick this afternoon, and to Sussex and Liverpool, thank you. I will talk to you very, very soon, hopefully. Okay, bye for now.